Welcome back, Planeswalkers, for another episode of the Hive Mind. I'm your host, John, and this is the show where I traverse the multiverse in search of other prominent members in the Magic the Gathering community. And this time, ladies and gentlemen, no big deal. Sometimes I have world champions on the show. Not saying, but I'm saying. So, planeswalking in from Roanoke, I have the illustrious Brian Braun-Duin, BBD. Thank you so much for joining me, sir.
You're welcome. It's gonna be fun.
All right, yeah. Planeswalking in from the Orzhov syndicate, so to speak, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, or at least I say I'm Orzhov to hide my Demir affiliations, but
Oh, well, my Twitter handle is Orzhov Dunn, so I thought we were there. Our last names are so similar, our guild affiliation, but
yeah.
first rule of Demir is you don't talk about Demir.
Well, then you know that I'm lying because I just did. So
right.
clearly, I'm an Orzhov mage at heart. So you got me.
All right, fair enough. And before we jump into it, I just want to say something real quick. We don't usually do this, but my buddy from Brain Pulp TV kind of gifted me some token of the month club, so he's trying this out. So Brain Pulp TV tokens. This is from Lars D'Souza and Ed Rozowski. Great channel. Go check him out. You get these really fun goblin tokens. I don't know if you could see those, but they're a lot of fun. You get those. You also get these kind of life counters. This is so awkward to try to squeeze in right here. But it's command zone or brawl to be current and in the now. The brawl is the new craze. So go check that out. Go to my buddy Ed, Brain Pulp TV, fantastic YouTube channel, anyways, and a good guy, Canadian friend. And I'm not Canadian. I'm actually in the Seattle area. But good guy either way. Go check him out. Token of the Month Club, and bug him about how to get involved with that. So now, with that out of the way, each and every week on the Hive Mind, sir, I'd like to ask you your origin story.
Okay. So for me, it was when I was in college. I was living in a dorm, and some of my friends in the dorm, actually one friend in particular, was like, "Hey, you guys want to play some Magic?" And we kind of just played. We basically played a little bit more games than maybe studying. We probably should have done more of that, but we were always playing like Halo and card games and all kinds of stuff. And so he introduced us to Magic, and he had some pre-built decks, just no format, just cards he owns, kind of decks. And I was given like a mill deck, and I like basically loved that deck, even though I never won with it. And we started playing a lot of Magic. We started like taking his cards and shuffling them up and making like fake boosters out of them, and drafting and things like that. And I just really fell in love with the game. Then we decided one night to go to F&M at a local game store in Blacksburg. I went to Virginia Tech, and that was it just happened to be the Time Spiral pre-release, and so I got to draft Time Spiral for the first time at the same time that other people were. I'd never drafted like an actual set before, but I had a lot of fun, and I just kept going back, and then never stopped going back. So just kind of ramped it up to PTQs and higher until eventually I got to here.
So your first, well, like the set that was current at the time that you started Magic was Time Spiral?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, that's why you're a world champion. You figured that mess out. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was over 10 years ago at this point, so long time ago.
And mill strategy, man, that's near and dear to my heart. You remember some kind of, your early kind of favorites in that deck?
Oh, yeah, I can't even remember all the cards that were in that deck. I mean, it was just random things that he owned, but I remember the Reality Sculptor. I can't even remember his name exactly.
Ixalar, maybe?
Yeah, I remember he was in that deck. That's the main thing I remember, so.
Nice. So yeah, talk about that a little bit. Like, so you know, you started drafting and everything like that, and that sounds like kind of your first format. Tell me a little bit about early F&M tournaments and stuff like that, which would ultimately make you decide to get motivated to maybe make a little Skrilla off this hobby.
Yeah, so when I first started playing, I didn't know really anything other than limited. They ran drafts for F&M every weekend, so I just only played exclusively limited for like a couple years, and eventually I started like getting standard decks together, but they were really janky, like cards. It was basically cards I owned. Black white was like the deck that I would build every standard format for like the first year, and it was just like I only had one Godless Shrine in my deck because like that's all I owned or whatever, and really bad mana base and really like too few lands, way too many 6 and 7 drops. Like
Nice.
that kind of stuff. But I had a lot of fun playing those decks, and I actually top aided so Star City Games is about 45 minutes away from where I went to school. We started driving up there to play in tournaments from time to time. They would do like weekends where they would draft all day. So we would go up and play in that. And they started running 1K tournaments once a month on like one Saturday a month. And I actually top aided one of those with one of my really bad black-white cards I own deck. I didn't even really know like what the decks were in standard that well, but I just played against Dragonstorm a bunch of times, and I had like Castigates and hide and seek and all these cards to just strip their deck. So ended up making the top 8, and then I got absolutely destroyed in the top 8, but it was a lot of fun.
Was there a time when like you started winning with these kind of jank decks, and your buddies are just like, wait a minute, we just like brought him along because we wanted a buddy. He's actually pretty good at this. Like, was there like a weird aha moment? Like, oh crap, he's legit.
Actually, no, not really, because the friends that I started playing with were actually really good, and they were probably, and I say probably, but I mean definitely better than I was. So I never really even got to their level of play. Like one of my friends was like exceptionally good at the game, and he would just always beat me every time. And I mean, we started playing at the same time, so I didn't. It's not like he had an edge up on me or anything, but he was really good. But they kind of eventually fell away from playing, and I just never did. And I guess my powers kept growing. So
Yeah. And going, I mean, those early days of, well, I don't know if they were really early because I'm not from that area, but it seemed like kind of when SEG was kind of booming and stuff like that. And just going there, I'm sure you played against some stiff competition, and you probably didn't even know at the time, right?
oh yeah, definitely. Like I didn't even know. Like I played against some really good players, and I mean, they were just the person that I got paired against. Like it wasn't like I knew their names or anything like that. And yeah, I even got to play against like some of kind of the old school people that kind of run this game at SCG now, like Ben Blyweiss and Pete Huffling. They're kind of the big heads of SCG, and they used to actually play in some of those events sometimes. So that was pretty cool as well.
Nice. Yeah. And what was the point where you're just like, okay, I got this mess in front of me, and I'm doing okay. I could kind of maybe, see myself going somewhere with this.
Yeah, I don't know if there was ever like a definitive moment where I felt that way. I just knew that I like loved Magic and wanted to just play as much Magic as I possibly could. And to do that, like basically like I would, I started to get good enough to the point where I was winning F&M most of the time and things like that. And then I was like, I wanted like tougher competition, so that's when I started playing in PTQs. And it wasn't even necessarily that I was like, I need to play on the Pro Tour or whatever. I just wanted to play like a better tournament with tougher foes and things like that. And I just wanted to play basically as much Magic as I could at the highest level that I was capable of competing at. And it just kind of kept going from there. It wasn't really until like 2011, 2012 when SCG started bringing in like outside talent to do content for them. like they brought in Todd Anderson, and then it was like Brad Nelson and Jerry Thompson came not that long after. And I kind of just like inserted myself into their group. And then that was kind of when I started like taking it way more seriously and actually trying to like, win PTQs and top 8 events and things like that. Not that I wasn't trying before, but I was playing like my own jank home brews and stuff, not necessarily just playing tier 1 decks and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And going well, so you kind of mentioned that you kind of inserted yourself, kind of rubbed elbows with some people, just like, hey, I kind of like it here. I'm winning a lot of stuff. Mind if I work here? Type thing. Is that kind of how that happened?
Yeah, kind of actually. It was basically I had been writing articles. I started writing articles for them. I think it was the tail end of 2011. Was when I wrote my first article. Todd Anderson and I went to an open and we played a new deck that we had kind of developed ourselves. And he ended up top 8ing and I finished in like the top 16 or something. And I decided to write an article about the deck. They didn't tell me to do that or ask me to do that. I just did it. And I sent it to them and I was like, hey, I wrote this article. Are you willing to put it up on the website? And they did, and people liked it. So then they asked me if I wanted to keep writing. I could. So then I started writing for them. And then eventually got to the point where I was still living in Blacksburg, but I wasn't going to college anymore. I was just living there. And I eventually decided when my lease was up that I was just going to move to Roanoke with no plan really. But I ended up moving to Roanoke, crashing on Ruben Bressler's couch for like 3 months while I got situated. And I was looking for a job. I actually applied to SCG, never heard anything back. I mean, I was like ready to be delivering pizzas basically. And then they eventually contacted me back. I went in for an interview and then started working there.
Awesome. And Ruben Bressler's he's also been on the show. He was I just moved from Vegas, just to put it into context. I was in Vegas for 22 years. He was one of my only in-studio guests. I'm just like, hey bud, cold call. You want to be on the show? He's like, yeah, I'll be at your house tomorrow.
Sweet.
I love me some Ruben Bressler. But yeah, I mean, a lot of Magic players, especially Magic pros, they don't have the, not all of them, and some of them do, but you definitely are kind of an outlier. That you have this like kind of great personality. You have this this nice timing and humor and everything. So that translated well to being put on camera. So how is that, going from kind of writing these articles and that attacking the content from that way to being on camera, doing the Versus series, being one of the first interviewing guests, all that? Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. I kind of just was winging it, and honestly still do. I don't really have a set plan or anything. I just kind of was winging it for the Versus videos, and it was kind of, to be honest, it was a little rocky at first. The feedback for like some of my early videos was kind of demoralizing. People were pretty cruel, but I kept at it and definitely got a little bit better at it, and also got better at playing Magic too, which helped because a lot of the feedback was like, "Wow, you're really bad at Magic." But yeah, I basically, I don't know, I just kind of threw myself in there. It wasn't really like a planned thing, or that I had any kind of like special kind of preparation or training or anything like that to do stuff like that.
You're definitely a natural at it. And some of those early videos were, I mean, around this time. And yesterday I had Danny West on the show, and he was kind of in that kind of groundswell of the Versus series and everything in that SEG time. So, I mean, that's those videos, watching him and McDarby, and then you and Todd and everybody and Brad, that's what really got me back into Magic. And that, it's kind of crazy to think, but, that was kind of what blew up MTG content creation on YouTube and everything to what it is now. And on Twitch, everyone's, streaming on Twitch. So really you guys were the pioneers of what MTG content creation has become.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, I think that the Versus videos were just a huge, enormous success, and really kind of, you know, it was not something that people were doing before, and it really did like spring load off Magic content. And then, I mean, if you look now, how many people are making Magic content? There's so many people producing like all kinds of different things that are, you know, they all have their own niche. They're all good in their own ways, or vice, you know, so forth. But like none of that really existed 10 years ago. Like it was just like some people wrote articles and that was about it. So
Yeah, absolutely. Is that something that you would want to, and I know, and we'll talk about a little bit where you are now, company wise and all that, but is that something that you miss? I know you so, and you're still a prolific article writer, but more of the on camera stuff, more of that kind of kooky creative stuff. Is that some stuff that you miss and some stuff that you wish you would do a little bit more of?
yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag for me because I do miss it. I like making stupid jokes. I like you know, doing fun things like that. You know, I've actually, one thing I always wanted to do was like an MTG skit show.
Nice.
Um, but it's so much work to put together, and I don't know if I have, you know, the time, the tools, the talent, etc., to be able to successfully do something like that. But I just love that kind of stuff, and I do miss doing it, and I miss like not really right now. I don't really have an outlet for that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, there are times where I'm happy that I don't, because you know, anytime you're putting things out like that, you're really opening yourself up to a lot of negative feedback, which you know, I try to not let it affect me, but sometimes it does. So
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. And we talked a little bit about your Orzhov affiliation as far as the guild goes, but for the uninitiated or some people that are just kind of finding you for the first time, can you tell a little bit about the Orzhov Guildgate story? This is a great
yes,
story.
yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. So I was playing in a tournament, and I don't remember. I know it was in North Carolina, but I can't remember where exactly. And I think it was an STG like IQ, like an elite IQ, or some tournament along those levels. And I'm playing there with CVM, and we're both playing Junk Reanimator. I guess Abzan Reanimator would be called now, but at the time it was Junk Reanimator.
For us old guys,
And
it's Junk Reanimator. I'm with you.
I do love the name Junk, so I'm with you on that too. But uh, so we're playing Junk Reanimator, and like we're just sitting around, like just, you know, shooting the crap between rounds, not really, you know, just talking about stupid stuff. And there's just a forest and an Orzhov Guildgate sitting on the table, and I'm just like, hey, like we should put these in our deck. Like we're playing these colors, like why aren't these in our deck? And just a stupid offhand comment. And then after the next round, we're sitting around again, and they're still just sitting there on the table. Like people played a full match there, but they didn't move, so they're still sitting there. So I'm like, all right, we need to take these for good luck. So CVM took the forest because he's a forest mage, and I took the Orzhov Guildgate because I'm an Orzhov mage, and we took them for good luck. CVM like never won another match the rest of the day. And I very easily was crushing like all my remaining opponents. I don't think I actually won the tournament, but I think I lost in like the top four of the finals or something. But I was just steamrolling people. So then I was like, all right, well now I have to keep like CVM. You got to throw that forest away. I'm gonna keep this Orzhov Guildgate, and then I won a PTQ like 2 weekends later with the Guildgate still on me. It was just in my pocket for the tournament, so it kind of became a lucky Guildgate until, and I kept it with me for like a couple months actually. And then one tournament I did like pretty bad. I think I like 1-2 dropped, and I just made an offhand comment like, "Man, this Guildgate's like running out of luck." And and Jerry Thompson just took it out of my hand and threw it in the trash. He's like, "You don't need that." So that was the end of the Orzhov Guildgate. But
No.
yeah,
Oh man, you could have still had that now, signed it and like sold it on eBay or something.
yeah,
This
I
is the
know. Like, I
lucky
kind of wish
Guildgate.
I still had it so I could like, you know, I'm not trying to not maybe not to sell it or whatever, but just to have it as a keepsake would be a good cool thing.
Right. Was it cool art? Was it Gatewatch or was it or no, I'm sorry, Gate Crash or Dragon's Maze?
It was the original one, the
Oh,
Gate
good.
Crash one. Yeah,
Yeah, way better. All right.
yeah,
Now
way better.
Oh yeah. Moving over to just kind of back into content creation and all that.
Yeah.
So there was a time where a lot of people kind of broke off from SEG and kind of went other places. It was kind of publicized, and if you want to kind of research that, then you guys and gals are more than happy to do that. But what was your kind of decision to move over to Channel Fireball for not only tournament sponsorship and all that, but for your article home, basically?
Yeah. So what happened was that it was the end of 2015, and my contract was up with SCG, and they elected to not renew it. So I probably would have, I'd probably still be working for SCG, honestly, had they renewed my contract there. So I ended up being just out of a job, basically. So I kind of contacted a few people to try to see if I could write for them. One of them was Channel Fireball, and they said, yeah. So I started writing for them about a month later, I think is when I started writing for CFB.
Yeah.
And I did that for a year, and that was actually the year that I like won the Grand Prix Master thing and won Worlds. So that was actually a really awesome year for me, just all around. Writing for CFB was great, and that year was great for me in terms of tournaments too. So that was really awesome. Then when the end of 2016 came around, TCG Player contacted me about writing for them. I ended up switching over to write for them. I've been writing for them ever since, and I also really love TCG Player a lot too. Actually, they're really great. So really happy that I'm writing for them right now. It is interesting that I've basically written for like three of the biggest content providers. I'm like one content provider away from hitting for the cycle. So that's kind of maybe my next thing.
Nice. Well, I mean, hey, not too shabby for the guy that wrote something down and said, "Hey, if you want to put it up on your article or on your website, go for it." So,
Yeah.
not too shabby, man. All right. Yeah, and just articles and writing in general. You said you would kind of like to do some more on camera stuff, but writing is such a good outlet, especially for with someone with your experience. Is this something that you would want to continue doing for the future? Up teen times, or is this something that you would always want to be a part of? Is in these articles?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I don't know how long I'll be part of the Magic community, like in terms of content creation. Who knows what can happen? Like, I mean, there's so many things that could be like Magic dies as a game, or I stop succeeding and I decided to go a different career direction, or nobody wants to read my articles because they're horribly bad, or whatever it is. I could go a way different route at some point in the future, but writing, especially in a creative fashion, is something that I think I'll always want to be a part of in some way, no matter what it is. I don't know what that might entail, but I've always wanted to do something like write like Onion style articles. I don't know. I don't think I have the chops to actually write for the Onion, but somewhere there's probably an outlet there somewhere for some niche field that I could do something like that. Or I've toyed with like writing a book or something at some point too.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, I follow you on Facebook. You put a little ditties out there every once in a while that are non-magic related, and I appreciate those. So yeah. All right. So and then again, coming from like a rags to riches kind of story, the guy with all the random Orzhov cards, um, 11 Grand Prix top eights, and this might be outdated, so correct me if I'm wrong. 11 Grand Prix top eights, 2 wins, a world championship. I don't even know how many top eight pro tour. I think you have a top eight pro tour.
I do not know.
Okay, but played in them. I mean, they won't even let me in the door. So right there, you're doing something right. Man, you're grinding. You've been grinding for years, probably since what, 2011. How passionate are you still about it? And take us on those kind of journeys, the lows and highs of just being a Magic pro.
I'm still super passionate about it, which you would think I would run out at some point, but it hasn't happened yet. So I mean, you know, Dominaria just came out on Magic Online, and I have drafted for about 12 hours or more a day since it came out. So I don't know if it's passion or madness at this point. You tell me. But yeah, I still love the game, and I'm still like willing to put in like as much time as I can to be the best at it. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's like, it was just something that I just, there's something about Magic that just caught me, and I don't I don't know if I can explain it perfectly, but it's just I just like love Magic so much, and I knew it was like what I wanted to do, and I just put like everything into trying to be the best that I could. And it took a long time for me to like level up, you know, from point to point to point, but uh I'm very fortunate that I've been successful at it, to be honest. But it's been like so awesome, and I'm like so happy that I get to be a part of this or whatever.
What was the feeling? What just ran through your brain the first Grand Prix win?
Oh man, I was just like kind of taken aback. Like I just didn't really know how to feel because that was also my first Grand Prix top eight ever too.
Nice.
That was my first success at a big scale for any tournament ever. And I had just come off of playing my second pro tour ever, and the first one that I had qualified for after a year and a half. So I played a pro tour in 2012, early in 2012, and I didn't requalify again until late 2013. This was actually the pro tour after the Orzhov Guildgate story. So I played that. That was my second pro tour ever. Never had any good finishes, and then I just won the GP the next weekend. It was my first ever top eight, and it was just like I don't know how to really describe it. It was just unbelievable, and I kind of feel like I was underselling how great it felt, because I just kind of was like, yeah, that's cool, you know. But like inside, I was just like, oh yeah, yeah. So.
Well, I mean, like you said, it was your first top eight, and then you won it. You're like, yeah, that's how you do it, right? Like on the outside.
But yeah, I mean, why doesn't everyone do this?
Oh man, I know it's going back, but do you remember? Do you remember opponent? Do you remember deck and decks you're playing against and all that? Was it like photocopied into your brain, or was it
Oh,
like?
I remember. Yeah, I remember a lot of opponents, a lot of decks, a lot of situations that happened in that tournament. I mean, I was playing Mono Black Devotion, and this was kind of what started that deck into being a dominant force in Standard for like a year. And I played the same. Brad Nelson, Todd Anderson, and I all played Mono Black Devotion, and all three of us made the top eight. So that was like really exciting, and all three of us played each other in the tournament too. So I lost to Todd in the Swiss rounds. Todd lost to Brad, and then I beat Brad. So we kind of all just had a triangle of beating each other. But yeah, I can remember like almost every match that I played in that tournament, and yeah, there were some awesome things. I mean, I remember I won my winning in by using Night Veil Spectre to steal my opponent's cards, and using Thassa to make my creatures unblockable to kill my opponent. So that was pretty cool.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that format got a lot of crap, but and I will always say that my favorite Standard format of all time was Innistrad Return of Ravnica, M13, Thragtusk, Junk Reanimator, like you said. My favorite was Esper Control. It had everything you wanted. It had, you wanted to be a fast aggro deck. Naya Blitz was your poison. Then it also had Jeskai. It literally just had everything, but Theros Standard was pretty good too.
Yeah, at the time there's a lot of complaints about it, but when you think about like the last 5 years of Standard, you're kind of looking back like, maybe that was a pretty good format.
Where are those pack rats?
Yeah, give me some pack rats and Sphinx's Revelation again, please.
Oh man, yeah, Sphinx's Revelation, such a broken card, but didn't get banned like Emrakul. But I digress. This isn't a crapping on Watsy show. It's just we just appreciate the past, right?
Exactly. Yep.
All right, so and then just man, I remember that time. I mean, you went on a absolute tear because those two Grand Prix that you won, if I and like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but those weren't even that far apart from each other, right?
They were a year apart basically. So I won the first one was Louisville in 2013, and then I won Grand Prix New Jersey the following year. About a year and 2 months later is when I won that GP.
Jeez, which was that still mono black or?
No, that was a legacy GP actually.
Oh, that's right.
That was right when Treasure Cruise was out and everyone was going crazy about it. And I ended up playing a Jeskai Stoneforge Mystic deck with Young Pyromancer and Treasure Cruise and Gitaxian Probes and everything, and ended up winning that tournament with that deck.
Have you gotten over the banning of Splinter Twin yet?
Yeah, I guess I have. Well, at the time, it was extremely disappointing because I was going to play it at the next Pro Tour because there was a Pro Tour about a month away that was modern, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna play Splinter Twin, like it's the deck that I play and I know. And then they banned it, and I was like, and I don't know what I'm gonna play anymore. So at the time, it kind of sucked. But I don't like. I usually don't get that sad about bannings because there's always something else. Like there's always another deck that I can play that I'll probably enjoy in some fashion. Might not be quite as good. I mean, definitely not as good as Splinter Twin was, but I kind of just take the hits as they come and just try to bounce back as well as I can.
Sure. I think I remember watching you live playing. I want to say it was a Grand Prix, but it was Twin. I think you were playing Twin, and it was against Lantern Control, and it was like the week after Lantern Control came out. Have you converted onto that silly deck, or are you just like ugh?
Yep, I've become a Lantern disciple. So I did lose to it in the finals of Grand Prix Oklahoma City. I lost to Lantern there, and then I kind of have been like I kind of played the deck for fun on Magic Online. I mean, my definition of fun may not carry for everyone.
Right.
But yeah, I played the deck for fun from time to time on Magic Online, but I never played it seriously at an event. And then once people started playing with War of Invention, the deck actually became really good. And I've started playing it a lot. Like I played it in a bunch of tournaments recently. I actually played it at the most recent Pro Tour, and it was my best Pro Tour finish ever. So I have Lantern Control to thank for that one. So.
Ugh. Yeah, well, I mean, you can't beat them, join them, right?
Yeah, my opponents don't have Lantern Control to thank, but I do. At least one person had fun. So
I have people in the chat literally screaming, "No!" Yeah,
well, if it's any consolation, I'm not playing it anymore, so you don't have to hate me anymore. You can hate me for my past deeds, but you don't have to hate me for my current transgressions. So
I know you're a huge standard guy and legacy. Do you like modern still as much as you did when Splinter was around?
yeah, actually, I do. I actually like modern a lot. I know modern is like a really contentious topic in terms of people loving it or hating it. It's usually not a whole lot of in between kind of people either really love modern or really hate it. But I used to hate it years ago. I used to be a real modern hater, and I don't know what switched around for me, but now I actually really like the format. Even though a lot of times it's just people goldfishing on each other, there's still fun in that sometimes, and I don't know. I kind of like the variance of it just doesn't bother me, and there's a lot of really like fun and interesting things that happen in modern where you play against so many wild things that you just wouldn't play against in other formats. So I really like that like I get to play these like weird games of Magic that I just didn't think I would ever play.
Are you happy it's a Pro Tour format again?
Oh yeah, for sure. Actually, modern is believe it or not, like one of the formats that I've had the best success at in competitive level events. So the more modern and legacy events that I can play in, the happier I am. So I'm actually pretty happy that one of the Pro Tours now is modern, because I think I'll just do better at it more often than I will a normal Pro Tour. So.
How are you during the whole Eldrazi winter thing?
Oh, I played a lot of Eldrazi. Actually, I'm kind of I've kind of come to understand that I'm the bad guy when it comes to modern, and I actually really liked playing Eldrazi too. They had to ban it. I'm glad they did, but it was fun while it lasted. And I liked beating people with Thought-Knot Seers, so.
Yeah, you and I are definitely a little bit different when it comes to that. My idea of fun's like, I got my Naya allies, guys. Can I come play with you? You know, you're just like kicking people in the teeth.
I'm like, well, here's a a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer. Have fun.
Right. Yeah. There's your Coco out the door. Um, so what is your favorite overall format? Do you still stick to Legacy, and what's your favorite standard format of all time?
So yeah, I think Legacy is still my favorite overall format. It's kind of become less enjoyable to me over the past year than it used to be. I used to just love, back in like 2013 through 2015. I loved Legacy so much, and I got to play all these like awesome decks all the time. And then Miracles just kind of like took over the format, and then I played Miracles, and I liked Miracles too. So I didn't enjoy that period quite as much, but I still enjoyed it. And then when they banned Sensei's Divining Top, now it's basically become like a pretty heavily Deathrite dominated format. Not that you can't do other things, but Deathrite's probably the best thing you can do. And I haven't liked that as much. I found that I'm actually not very good at playing Deathrite Shaman decks. So maybe me not winning as much is part of the reason. But I would still classify Legacy as my favorite format. I just love playing with those cards. They're fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always interesting hearing pros, and especially successful pros, talk about it. Like, do you ever play like Magic for fun? Magic for fun's stupid because of course you're having fun, but Magic as far as like the more casual formats like Commanders and Brawls and stuff like that.
Oh, I actually started playing some Brawl actually. So I've played a little Brawl. I don't play much casual Magic, but I actually really like it. I always have fun when I play Commander, and there's a lot of times where I'm sitting there like, why don't I just build a Commander deck, because I really enjoy it. And I could just take it to tournaments and hang around and play with people between rounds or whatever. But then I think about having to go through the trouble of actually putting the deck together, and I never end up doing it. But I do actually really enjoy playing casual Magic, even though I don't play it that often.
Yeah. And I've teased it enough. So let's go back a couple years to now my new stomping ground in the Pacific Northwest, winning Worlds, sir. I mean, congratulations. Still, you know, to this day, you know, thinking about again your humble beginnings, so to speak, to winning it big, winning the big show, so to speak. What the hell was going through your head during that?
I mean, it was like the culmination of everything I could have ever wanted in Magic. For one, I never thought I would play in the World Championship. Like, that was always something that I was like, it would be so awesome if I just got to even play in this tournament. And then I did, and I was like, well, this is really awesome. I get to play in this tournament. Like, that's something like, you know, cool. Like, I may never qualify for Worlds again in my life. Like, this might be my one time ever playing. Not that I put any pressure on myself. I was like, I mean, I'm playing against like the best of the best, and I'm probably not going to do very well, but I'm going to enjoy myself and do the best I can. And then I just like was winning constantly in the tournament and ended up winning the entire tournament. I just couldn't believe it. Like, that was always, you know, kind of the thing where you're like laying in your bed thinking like, man, what if I hit like the Grand Slam to win the World Series, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, that was kind of like my World Series, and I kind of did hit the Grand Slam. And it was, you know, that's one of those things where it's like, you're always like, man, that would be really cool. But back to reality, that's never going to happen.
Right.
but I guess I got to dodge reality for like a weekend, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, world champion Brian Braun-Duin. I was just like, yeah, I was really pulling for you, man. I've been following you for since you've been pro pretty much, and I was just like, I always pull for you. I always pull for the Brads and all the kind of the older dogs. It's so funny to think that we're all now in the older dog category, but I was super stoked. It was like seeing what my football team win the Super Bowl, and I'm glad that you won because I'll never see the Chargers win a Super Bowl. So I
Yeah, I
lived
feel you there. I'll never see the Vikings win a Super Bowl. I'll see them
right.
lose constantly, but
It's just not to be. So at least I got to live that. But going through playing in all the big shows, basically all Grand Prix, Pro Tours, and Worlds. What is your favorite? Everything. Considering everything, all the accoutrements, so to speak. Do you like playing? Do you like grinding Grand Prix the most? Do you feel most comfortable in the Pro Tour? If you played in Worlds every year, would you? What's your favorite kind of big tournament?
um, actually, I'm gonna go with kind of an obscure answer to this one. I think my most fun tournament that I played was actually the Magic Online Championship, which was a 24 person tournament. Also, it was held in Seattle as well at the WotC headquarters. I guess that's outside of Seattle technically, but close enough.
Yeah,
I guess that's outside of Seattle technically, but close enough.
Yeah.
Um, and that tournament was actually just really cool because like we just got to sit around and play Magic Online. But for Players Championship, when I played that was a lot of fun. Worlds was a lot of fun. I think those are definitely my favorite events are like the more smaller, intimate events where there's that kind of thing where maybe you play half the people in the room by the time the tournament's done.
And excuse me if I'm out of touch a little bit, but do you still grind like the states and the SEG tours and all that?
No, I'm not grinding it. I'll play in the SCG tour events when they are like not interfering with a Grand Prix or something like pretty close. Like I'll drive to one of the ones that's like in DC or Baltimore that's only a couple hours away, or Charlotte or Richmond, or even I'll go to Ohio too. They have events there a lot of times and play in those events. But if there's a Grand Prix the same weekend, I'm always prioritizing the Grand Prix because I can get pro points there. That's going to help me much more in the long run than whatever SCG events that weekend.
Sure. And we kind of talked about it a little bit before, but just what are your thoughts on kind of the health of Magic now and the future of Magic now? And before we get into that, you said Dominaria came out, you grinded some online drafts for 12 hours straight. It's like me playing The Sims back in the day. Yeah, I didn't see the sunlight. But
I don't even know what sunlight is anymore. But
hey, you should move to Seattle.
yeah,
You fit right in with the rest of us Morlocks. But yeah, the just what do you think the health is of the game right now, and what's the future, near future, long term future? Where do you see this going?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Actually, I mean, there's I could probably talk forever about this. I don't know if I have insightful things to say, but I think Magic's actually doing pretty well right now as a whole, and I think that Wizards is starting to make some good decisions. Like for the last few years, I think they made some mistakes with a lot of the sets that they were releasing. Like I think Kaladesh was kind of a big mistake, to be honest. Things like that. Had to ban a bunch of cards. Standard wasn't great, and so on. But I think that they are really starting to learn from a lot of those mistakes and hopefully improving on their set design. And to go with that, I think that Modern has been like super successful lately, and that's been a big draw to the game as well. A lot of people are getting into that format, and that's like helping with the game. I guess Arena's coming out. I haven't really seen too much of Arena, but who knows about that? So I think the game's in a good place, but I don't. There's also some things about it that make me a little bit nervous. Like they're putting a lot into Arena. If that ends up being a bust, like is that going to affect their bottom line. Is that going to really hurt Magic? It might. And the same with like, you know, Hearthstone and games like that. I don't think that those games are taking too much away from Magic, but they could for sure. And they're like, I could see the future moving to a more digital thing. I think a lot of the power of Magic is that it's still mostly played as a physical game, which like Hearthstone and stuff, they don't have that aspect. And that's what a lot of people love about Magic, like getting together with friends, like meeting people, etc. And so I'm a little bit worried that like things are going to shift too much digitally, and that WotC is just not going to be able to compete with like companies that are way better at it. I mean,
Yeah.
I love a lot of the things that WotC does with Magic, but they are not a strong company when it comes to digital products. So I'm a little bit nervous that if they try to like go all in on that basket, it might fail.
Yeah, absolutely. And then your plans with Magic. You said before you're still just as passionate about it. I could see on your face just talking Magic. You're all smiles, and that's an awesome thing to be this many years deep into this. Such a grueling kind of, you know, no pun intended. You know, lifestyle. Grinding this thing constantly, or you know, however much you grind, but the emotional up and downs and everything. How much in the tank do you think you got left?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. It's kind of hard to say. I always feel like I'm like getting lower on the tank, but then it just, you know, it's always at the, maybe it's still just always at the same place it is. It's hard to gauge. I think that I definitely have like another 2 or 3 years for sure. Um, and after that point, who knows? But I definitely see myself doing it for the remainder of this year, the entirety of next year, and then after that, you know, it really depends on how I'm doing and stuff. And I think a lot of it's going to be less about how much I have in the tank and more about whether I can keep doing it and like make a living off of it, or you know, other things could happen in my life that really throw a wrench in things. Like who knows what could happen. So I don't know. I think I still have a lot left in the tank, but you know, who knows? Like I definitely don't have quite the same level of dedication that I had like 3 or 4 years ago. When it comes to testing, I still put in probably the same amount of time, maybe even more. But when it comes to like wanting to drive 14 hours to play in a tournament or something, like I just don't have that in me anymore. So I am losing a little bit. Like the joy of travel is really diminishing for me. So I could see that as being maybe a reason why I eventually give it up.
Sure, and this segues a little bit well into and we're kind of we're gonna start wrapping things up, but you got a nice healthy test of Dominaria, and from what I've heard, I haven't gotten a chance to even draft or do the pre-release yet on this, but it just seems like it's like it's a breath of fresh air coming off this crazy all the time that has been standard lately, and it looks like nostalgia is exactly the shot in the arm that this game needed. You know, getting Richard Garfield back to kind of design some things and to play with Llanowar Elf again, for God's sake. You know, all these things. It just seemed like it was kind of right on time. What do you think about Dominaria? As is this kind of the savior of standard right now?
I hope so, you know, to be honest. And I actually I have really high hopes for Dominaria because, well, for one, it's been a blast to play in limited. It's been really fun, and there's some aspects of Dominaria that I really enjoy, and one of them is that it seems to be moving back towards like traditional Magic, where creatures aren't just unbelievably broken and unbeatable, and people are forced to just kind of like, I'll throw my haste dragon at you. All right, you throw your haste dragon at me. I'll throw my other haste dragon at you. You didn't have a second haste dragon. You're just dead. You know, it's like there's just been so many like busted creatures, and the removal hasn't lined up the way we want it to, and things like that. And I'm really hoping that Dominaria is kind of a change of pace. And at least playing limited, it's been kind of like an old school limited format where like you can cast your divinations and 5 mana draw 3 cards and stuff like that, and they're actually great. Where some of the previous formats, like those cards were just too slow to matter because like games were over too fast, creatures were too good. Doesn't seem to be the case in this set. So I have super high hopes, and I want to say that sagas are unbelievably awesome to play with. And I kind of wish that they had just made sagas instead of planeswalkers. I know that's a ridiculous statement to make, but and that this may, 6 months from now, I might be like, man, sagas were a huge mistake. But like you never know what's gonna change or whatever. But I will say that right now they've been awesome, and they're really fun to time playing with and against, like when all the abilities are gonna go off and stuff. So.
Is this the slowest format it's been in a long time?
Yeah, like when was the last time there was a format this slow? I will say that Hour of Devastation had some really slow matches. Amonkhet was like blazing fast, but Hour slowed it down a bunch. But I want to say this is probably the slowest format since Khans of Tarkir. Khans had some. I mean, Khans could be fast too, but there was also a lot of like, here's my 7 mana thing, So.
Yeah. But it is kind of fun. You're supposed to sit down and actually play the game to really resolve these kind of big spells, and that's kind of the draw into playing more casual formats like Commander, because you get to get off these, and of course there's combos and you could win by turn 2, but you get to play these big, ridiculous, stupid spells, these Timmy spells and Timmy creatures, and it just seems like this is kind of you get to savor the flavor a little bit more with this set.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm with you 100% of the way there. Like the appeal of Commander is like you get to play fun cards. You get to like come up with a plan and enact your plan, and you have time to do it. You're not just dead before you get to cast your like 3-card 14 mana combo that you've been really dying to pull off. You actually get to do it. So that's really awesome. And yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. Like I want to play games like I played back in like the Junk Reanimator era, where my Thrag Tusks were giving me enough time to where we both got to do, I do my powerful thing, then you Sphinx's Revelation for 5, and it's like, well, here's my next thing, and you're like, all right, well, Sphinx's Revelation for 6, and I'm like, all right, well, here's my next like 7 mana bomb,
Yeah.
Like, am I going to be able to win or not? And there's a lot of play to it and stuff, so.
That is awesome. Real quick, Brian, some of your non-MTG interests.
There's not a whole lot of them because MTG kind of dominates a lot of my time, but I like playing some video games sometimes. I don't play that much, but I do enjoy it. Watch a lot of TV. Not a lot, but I watch some. I like to read books when I have a chance. And occasionally I'll go outside and do some things. I bought some frisbee golf discs not too long ago, and I've gone and played that a few times. I really enjoy playing like racquetball, but I don't have anyone to play with, so that's unfortunate. But that's something if I found someone here who wanted to play in Roanoke, that I would do that all the time too.
Racquetball is a game that you could kind of play by yourself, though.
Yeah, you kind of can. Not quite the same, but you definitely can.
Yeah, absolutely. And just real quick, before we take off, anybody in the chat want to ask anything? Anyone want to ask a World Championship Magic Pro anything? I know I would, but I got to do that for the last hour. No, but yeah, what kind of shows are you into? This is my recruiting phase, because Magic on this channel is half the story. I do, movie and TV show reviews, but
Oh,
yeah.
Really? Okay, cool. I really like dramas. And it's kind of weird because I actually really don't like comedies that much, even though I like to crack jokes all the time. I don't really usually enjoy comedy television or movies that much. I really like 2 shows, I guess, recently that I've really enjoyed were The Man in the High Castle and Handmaid's Tale.
Yes.
I like those kinds of shows. Like I like Breaking Bad. I like I watched the first season of Westworld. I really enjoyed that. Like just plot driven shows like that are the things that I like the most.
Handmaid's Tale just dropped. The second season just dropped yesterday, I think.
Yep, it did. Yeah, so I'm gonna have some catching up to do. I don't know. I have to weigh that. Like, do I watch this or do I play another Dominaria draft? I don't really know, but
Nice. Magic with Zuby, a good friend, says favorite D&D edition. Go.
I have never played D&D before.
Oh, whoa!
I know.
Some of your nerd cred.
You can take that as you will. I mean, I would love to play sometime, but yeah, I've just never actually played. So
Yeah. And that is surprising, especially being a roommate, so to speak, of Ruben Bressler. I know he's a huge D&D dude.
yeah, he is. You know, it is surprising when you look at how much of a giant nerd I am that I've never done that. But you know, I guess we all have our shortcomings.
Hey, it's all right. You're still a-okay with me. You know, you don't play D&D, but you do win a lot of the magics, so to speak. So that's still pretty cool. Any immediate upcoming projects you want to talk about or spoil a little bit?
Yeah, I do. I have exactly one upcoming project, and that is winning the next Grand Prix. My teammates Brad Nelson and Seth Manfield.
Oh,
So
what?
that's a project that's a work in progress that hopefully will be completed this weekend.
Excellent.
But no, that's about it. I don't really have anything going on. Just putting out content every week on tcgplayer.com, but I don't have any kind of big projects that I'm planning. I know Brad Nelson and I have toyed with the idea of doing a podcast, but we've been toying with that idea for years, and we never follow through. So I wouldn't hold your breath for that, but who knows? Anything can happen. So.
Excellent. Well, if you ever need a host just to direct the questions, I'm in the market. No, no, but awesome, Brian. This has been so much fun. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the Hive Mind, talk about what you're passionate about, and you definitely are extremely passionate about this, and that is really awesome, really refreshing. Where can everyone find you on the social medias?
Yep. So I'm on Facebook as my name. I don't post there that often, but I do sometimes. And I'm also on Twitter at Braun-Duin it. And I tweet constantly, all kinds of garbage, but follow if you're interested in that kind of stuff. And then I produce articles weekly at tcgplayer.com on Thursday. So check that out on Thursdays if you want to see my articles. Lately, I've kind of taken a new style of writing more list style articles. So like, here's 5 cards you should probably play in your deck, or here's 5 decks you should consider playing. That's kind of been my recent kick. So if you're interested in that, Thursdays at TCG Player.
Excellent. And you can find me, Jon Dunning, on Twitter at Orzhov Dunn. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram as Jon Dunning, because that's my name. Or you can find me on this very same YouTube channel, They Said, We Said. I want to thank my guests again for Planeswalking in from Roanoke, Mr. Brian Braun-Duin. Thank you so much for joining us. And Planeswalkers, we will see you next time. I messed up my outro. It's okay. It's a live show. We'll see you next time on the Hive Mind while I traverse the multiverse.